3 months had passed since the afternoon in Oakhaven Park. On the surface, a fragile routine had settled over the harbor town. Talia had rented a small, modest cottage 3 miles up the coast, stubbornly refusing to leave Oakhaven even after the city council's harbor renovation contract officially ended. She spent her mornings working remotely from her laptop, her afternoons at the park with 6-year-old Lily, and her evenings sitting in her car across the street from the paper sale, watching through the rain-streaked windshield as Iris locked up the shop. Iris hadn't let Talia back into her heart or her home. She kept a strict, agonizing boundary between them. Talia was allowed to be Lily's mother. She took Lily for ice cream, helped her draw lopsided sea creatures, and read her bedtime stories on the weekends when Iris stayed at the cottage to supervise. But whenever Talia's gray eyes lingered on Iris just a second too long, or whenever the Alfa's rich scent of cedar and rain filled the room, Iris erects an impenetrable wall of cold politeness. Deep down, Iris was drowning. Every touch of Talia's hand when passing Lily's backpack, every gentle, regretful look from the Alfa, ignited a terrifying, roaring fire in Iris's chest. She still loved Talia. She had never stopped loving her. But the terror of being abandoned again, of letting down her guard only to be broken, kept Iris frozen in place. Then came Vivienne. Vivienne Vance was everything Talia used to be, and more. She was a brilliant, 34-year-old structural engineer from London who had been brought in to oversee the second phase of the harbor restoration. Vivienne was an Alfa, wealthy, impeccably dressed in sharp Italian wool coats, with sleek blonde hair, warm amber eyes, and a confident, magnetic charm. And from the exact moment Vivienne stepped into Oakhaven, her focus was entirely fixed on Talia. They had history. Vivienne had worked alongside Talia during Talia's 5-year exile in Europe. She knew about the corporate scandal, knew about the sacrifice Talia had made for Iris, and had spent years silently waiting for Talia to move on from the ghost of her past. Now that she was in Oakhaven, Vivienne had no intention of staying in the background. It started at the paper sale. It was a chilly Tuesday afternoon. Iris was behind the mahogany counter, carefully wiping down the espresso machine, while Lily sat at her usual corner table coloring. The brass bell chimed softly. Iris looked up, her breath catching as Talia walked in. But Talia wasn't alone. Walking beside her, laughing casually as she touched Talia's forearm, was Vivienne. The blonde Alfa was wearing a tailored camel coat, her scent, a rich, intoxicating mix of spiced rum and amber, filling the quiet bookstore. "I'm telling you, Talia, the city council is completely out of their depth with the pier foundations." Vivienne laughed, her hand resting comfortably on the small of Talia's back for a brief, casual second as they walked toward the counter. "You need to take the lead on the presentation tomorrow." Talia offered a tight, polite smile, quickly stepping forward to create distance, her gray eyes immediately scanning the shop until they landed on Iris. Iris. Good afternoon. Iris felt a sudden, violent jolt in her stomach. Her eyes darted from Talia's face down to Vivienne's hand, which was now resting lightly on the counter near Talia's elbow. "Good afternoon," Iris said, her voice dropping into that cold, professional tone she had perfected over the last 3 months. "What can I get for you?" "Just 2 black coffees, please," Talia said quickly. She looked uncomfortable, her posture rigid. "Iris, this is Vivienne Vance. She's the lead engineer on the secondary harbor project." Vivienne leaned against the counter, her warm amber eyes sweeping over Iris with a sharp, calculating curiosity. She knew exactly who Iris was. "Ah, the famous Iris," Vivienne said, her tone smooth and dripping with polished charm. "Talia speaks of you." "Occasionally." "It's a pleasure to finally meet the woman behind the legend." There was an edge to Vivienne's voice, a subtle, territorial assertion of an alpha marking her presence. Iris felt her omega instincts flare in defense, her blood running hot. "Is that so?" Iris replied, keeping her gaze icy as she set 2 coffee cups on the counter. "I'm glad my shop could accommodate you." Before Talia could speak, Lily scrambled out of her chair and ran over to the counter, clutching her stuffed sea otter. "Mama." "Look, I finished the turtle's hat." Talia's entire demeanor shifted instantly. The tension in her shoulders melted, and a radiant, soft smile lit up her face as she dropped to one knee, bringing herself to eye level with the little girl. "Let me see, sweet pea," Talia murmured softly, her fingers gently tucking a stray lock of dark hair behind Lily's ear. "Oh, that's magnificent." "Is that a top hat?" "It's a party hat." Lily giggled, leaning forward to press her small cheek against Talia's shoulder. Instinctively, Talia wrapped her strong arms around Lily, inhaling the little girl's sweet strawberry scent with a deep, contented sigh. From across the counter, Vivienne watched the exchange, her eyebrows lifting in mild surprise. "Well, aren't you a sweet little thing?" Vivienne said, stepping closer to Talia and leaning down toward Lily. "Talia, you never told me you were so natural with children." Talia stood up, keeping one hand gently rested on Lily's head. "Lily isn't just children, Vive. She's my daughter." Vivienne's smile flickered for a fraction of a second before regaining its smooth polish. "Of course." A striking resemblance. Vivienne reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a sleek leather wallet, sliding a platinum card across the counter toward Iris. "Let me get the coffees, Talia. Consider it a thank you for letting me drag you away from your hotel room for lunch." Hotel room. The words sliced through Iris like a razor blade. Drag you away from your hotel room. Had Talia been with her? Had they been spending time together outside of work? Iris didn't touch the credit card. She looked directly at Talia, her chest heaving slightly beneath her sweater. "It's on the house," Iris said, her voice dropping into a register so dangerously cold it made the air in the shop freeze. "We don't charge guests of the project." Talia's gray eyes widened in realization. She saw the flash of dark, possessive anger in Iris's eyes, and for a split second, a flicker of desperate hope flared in Talia's chest. "Iris, no, let me pay." "I said it's on the house," Iris repeated, grabbing the 2 coffee cups and placing them firmly in front of Vivienne. "Have a nice day." Vivienne smiled, picking up the cups. She reached out and lightly patted Talia's shoulder, her fingers lingering just a little too long on the Alfa's sleeve. "Come on, Talia. We have that 2:00 p.m. briefing with the mayor. You can show me that seaside restaurant you mentioned on the way." Talia looked at Iris, her eyes searching Iris's face for any sign, any request for her to stay. "Iris," Talia whispered. Iris turned her back to them, picking up a rag and furiously wiping down a perfectly clean counter. "Don't let your guest wait, Talia." Talia swallowed hard, a deep, painful ache settling in her throat. "Goodbye, Lily Bug. I'll see you on Friday." "Bye, Mama." Lily called out happily, completely oblivious to the war raging in the room. Iris kept her back turned until the brass bell chimed and the door clicked shut. The moment they were gone, Iris dropped the rag. Her hands were shaking violently. Her heart was hammering against her ribs, so hard it felt like it would break. She hated Vivienne. She hated the way the blonde Alfa touched Talia, hated the way she looked at her, hated that she had known Talia during those 5 lost years in Europe. But most of all, Iris hated herself. She had spent 3 months pushing Talia away, keeping her at arm's length, refusing to let her close. And now, watching another woman step into the space she had left vacant was driving her completely, wildly insane. Over the next 2 weeks, the torture intensified. Oakhaven was a small town, and avoiding them was impossible. Iris saw them everywhere. She saw Talia and Vivienne walking down the harbor boardwalk, heads bent together over blueprints. She saw Vivienne sitting beside Talia at the local diner, laughing as she wiped a smudge of powdered sugar from Talia's lip. Every encounter was a slow-burning agony. Iris couldn't sleep. She would lie awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling, her body aching with a furious, suffocating jealousy. She wanted to scream at Talia. She wanted to pull Talia into her arms, mark her skin, and scream to the world that this Alfa belonged to her and her daughter. But every time she thought about doing it, the phantom memory of standing at the altar 6 years ago returned, choking the words in her throat. "You gave up the right to claim her when you locked her out," Iris told herself every night, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You pushed her away. You can't be mad if she moves on." The breaking point arrived on a torrential Friday evening. A severe coastal storm had slammed into Oakhaven, knocking out power lines across the harbor. The town was plunged into darkness, save for the flickering glow of emergency lanterns and the roaring ocean waves crashing against the stone seawall. At 7:00 p.m., the front door of the paper sale rattled violently. Iris, who was lighting candles near the counter, while Lily played with wooden blocks by the emergency lantern, hurried to the door. She unlocked it and pulled it open, expecting the wind. Instead, she found Talia. The Alfa was completely soaked. Her dark hair was plastered to her forehead, her leather jacket glistening with rain, and her gray eyes wild with frantic concern. In her arms, she was holding a heavy bag of emergency supplies, flashlights, batteries, warm blankets, and a thermos of hot soup. "The power grid snapped at the main junction," Talia panted, her voice rough as she stepped inside, kicking the door shut against the howling wind. "The whole lower harbor is blacked out." I knew you didn't have a backup generator here. Are you two okay? Iris stared at her, her chest tightening. Even soaked to the bone, smelling of cedar and rain, Talia was breathtakingly handsome. We're fine, Iris murmured, her voice tight with suppressed emotion. We have candles, Mama. Lily cheered, running over and throwing her arms around Talia's wet legs. Talia immediately dropped the heavy bag, ignoring her wet clothes as she scooped Lily up into a tight hug. Hey, sweet pea. Not scared of the dark. Nope. Mama lit the magic candles, Lily proudly announced, pressing her face into Talia's neck. Talia smiled, but as she looked up at Iris, her expression turned serious. I brought extra supplies. I can leave them on the counter and go back to my truck if you want me to leave. Iris looked at the storm raging outside the window, the sheets of rain, the blinding flashes of lightning. The thought of sending Talia back out into that storm, back to her hotel, back to Vivienne, made something snap deep inside Iris's soul. Don't be ridiculous, Iris said softly, her voice shaking slightly. You'll freeze out there. You can stay. Until the storm passes. A profound relief washed over Talia's face. Thank you. For the next 2 hours, the small bookstore felt like an isolated island in the middle of a dark world. They ate the warm soup Talia had brought by candlelight. Talia sat on the rug with Lily, building massive wooden castles until the little girl's eyes grew heavy. By 9:30 p.m., Lily had fallen fast asleep in Talia's lap, her small hand tightly gripping Talia's thumb. Talia gently scooped Lily into her arms, carried her upstairs to the small apartment above the shop, and laid her gently in her bed, tucking the heavy blankets around her shoulders. She kissed Lily's forehead, lingering there for a long moment before stepping quietly out into the hallway. Iris was standing at the top of the stairs, watching her in the soft, dim light of a single candle resting on the hallway table. She loves you, Iris whispered, her voice barely audible above the sound of rain beating against the roof. Talia stopped, looking at Iris. I love her more than my own life, Iris. I'd burn the world down before I let anything happen to her. Talia paused, her gray eyes darkening with a profound, aching sadness. And I feel the exact same way about you. Iris's breath caught. The candle flame flickered between them, casting long shadows against the walls. Don't say that, Iris choked out, turning her face away. Don't say things like that, Talia. Why? Talia took a slow, deliberate step forward, her scent of cedar and rain wrapping around Iris like a heavy blanket. Because it's easier to pretend I'm a monster. Because it's easier to keep me locked out than to admit that we still belong to each other. You walked away. Iris snapped, turning back, tears suddenly spilling over her lashes, her restraint finally breaking after weeks of suffocating jealousy. You left me at the altar, Talia. You destroyed me. And then you come back here, and within weeks, you bring her into my shop. Talia froze, blinking in surprise. Who? Vivienne. Yes, Vivienne. Iris stepped closer, her chest heaving, her hands clenched into tight fists at her sides. The way she touches you. The way she looks at you. She knows you, Talia. She was with you in London while I was here alone, raising our daughter in the dark. And you just let her wrap herself around you like you're hers. Talia stared at Iris, processing the raw, explosive anger radiating from the Omega. And then, slowly, the realization dawned on her. Iris. Talia whispered, her voice trembling. Are you jealous? I am furious. Iris cried, a sob escaping her throat. I hate her. I hate seeing her touch you. I hate knowing she can have you when I can't even look at you without remembering how much it hurt when you left. Talia closed the distance between them in a single stride. She didn't grab Iris. She simply cupped Iris's face in her large, warm, calloused hands, her thumbs gently wiping away the hot tears streaming down Iris's cheeks. There is nothing between me and Vivienne, Talia growled softly, her gray eyes burning with an intense, unwavering devotion that made Iris's knees weak. There has never been anyone, Iris. It's not in London, not here, not ever. My heart, my soul, my body, they have belonged to you since I was 19 years old. Vivienne is a colleague. She knows I am in love with you. I told her the day she arrived in Oakhaven that if I couldn't have you back, I would spend the rest of my life alone. Iris gasped, staring into Talia's eyes. Talia. I don't want Vivienne, Talia breathed, her face inches from Iris's. I don't want anyone in this universe but you. I have spent 6 years starving for you, Iris. Every single day without you was a living nightmare. The last wall inside Iris's heart crumbled into dust. The 6 years of pain, the weeks of suffocating jealousy, the endless nights of longing, it all collapsed under the weight of Talia's words. Iris reached up, her fingers tangling frantically in Talia's wet hair, and pulled the Alfa's mouth down onto hers. The kiss was explosive. It wasn't gentle or hesitant. It was a desperate, starving collision of two souls that had been kept apart for far too long. Talia let out a low, rough growl deep in her chest, her arms wrapping securely around Iris's waist, lifting the Omega slightly off her feet and pulling her flush against her broad chest. Iris gasped into the kiss, opening her mouth to Talia's hot, possessive tongue. The taste of Talia, rain, coffee, and pure alpha dominance, flooded Iris's senses, driving her wild. She wrapped her legs around Talia's hips, clinging to her like a woman drowning in the sea. Without breaking the kiss, Talia carried Iris down the dark hallway into Iris's bedroom, kicking the door partially shut behind them. She set Iris down on the edge of the large bed. The room was illuminated only by the faint silver moonlight filtering through the rain-streaked window. Talia dropped to her knees in front of Iris, her heavy hands resting on Iris's thighs, her gray eyes dark with a fierce, reverent passion. "Tell me to stop, Iris," Talia breathed, her voice raspy and thick with restraint. "Tell me right now if you aren't ready. Because if I touch you tonight, I am never letting you go again." Iris looked down at the Alfa kneeling before her, the woman who had broken her heart, the woman who had sacrificed everything to protect her, the woman who was the father of her child. "Don't you dare stop," Iris whispered, her fingers reaching down to undo the buttons of Talia's damp shirt. Claim me, Talia, please. Take me home. Talia's restraint snapped completely. She stood up, shedding her wet coat and shirt, revealing the powerful, muscular lines of her shoulders and chest. Iris reached out, her hands tracing the hot skin of Talia's stomach, shivering as the Alfa's natural cedar scent flared wildly in the room, mixing with Iris's sweet, inviting strawberry aroma. Talia leaned down, her lips tracing a path of burning kisses from Iris's jawline down to her throat. When Talia's mouth found the sensitive pulse point at the side of Iris's neck, the place where an Alfa's mark belonged, Iris arched her back with a loud, helpless moan, her fingers digging deep into Talia's shoulder muscles. "You are mine, Iris," Talia growled against her skin, her hands sliding under Iris's sweater, lifting it off her body and tossing it to the floor. "You have always been mine." "Yes," Iris sobbed softly, tears of pure relief flooding her eyes as Talia laid her back onto the mattress. "Yours. Always yours." What followed was a night of deep, agonizingly beautiful intimacy. Talia touched Iris as if she were made of precious glass, yet with a fierce, possessive hunger that left Iris breathless. Every touch was an apology, every kiss was a promise. Talia mapped every inch of Iris's body with her lips, drinking in the moans and gasps that had been denied to her for 6 long years. When Talia finally slid inside her, uniting their bodies in the dark room while the storm raged outside, Iris let out a broken, joyous cry, her arms locking around Talia's neck, pulling her down for a deep, bruised kiss. They moved together in a slow, powerful rhythm, skin to skin, heart to heart, drowning in the hot, electric fire of their reawakened bond. When the peak finally hit them, it tore through the room like lightning. Iris clung to Talia, her voice breaking as she cried out Talia's name, while Talia buried her face in the crook of Iris's neck, holding her so tightly it felt as though they were fusing into a single entity. Hours later, the storm had passed. Pale silver moonlight flooded the quiet bedroom. Iris lay curled against Talia's side, her head resting on the Alfa's bare, muscular chest, listening to the steady, reassuring thud of Talia's heart. Talia's long arm was wrapped securely around Iris's waist, her hand resting gently on Iris's hip, stroking her skin in long, soothing motions. The scent of cedar, rain, and sweet strawberries filled the room, heavy and harmonious. "Talia!" Iris murmured softly, tracing circles on Talia's collarbone. "Hem." Talia replied, pressing a soft kiss into Iris's messy hair. "What about Vivienne?" Talia let out a quiet chuckle, her chest rumbling beneath Iris's ear. "Vivienne is leaving for London on Monday. And even if she stayed, there is no one in this world for me but you, Iris. I promise you, on my life, you will never have to be jealous again." Iris lifted her head, looking into Talia's gray eyes. The coldness, the fear, the anger that had guarded her heart for 6 years were entirely gone, replaced by a deep, unwavering peace. "Good," Iris whispered, a faint, mischievous smile touching her lips. "Because if she touches your arm again, I might actually throw her off the harbor pier." Talia laughed, a rich, full sound that filled the dark room, before pulling Iris up for another slow, lingering kiss. I'd like to see that. A soft creak sounded from the bedroom door. Both women froze, looking over. Standing in the doorway, wearing her oversized sea turtle pajamas and clutching her stuffed otter, was Lily. She rubbed her sleepy eyes, blinking at the two of them in the moonlight. "Mama," Lily murmured softly. The thunder stopped. Talia's face softened completely. She lifted the heavy duvet with one arm. "Come here, sweet pea." Lily didn't hesitate. She scampered across the floor, climbed onto the high bed, and squirmed right into the middle between Iris and Talia. She pulled the blanket up to her chin, laying her head on Talia's chest, while her small hand reached out to hold Iris's fingers. "Are you staying, Talia?" Lily asked, her voice heavy with sleep. Talia looked over Lily's head at Iris. Iris smiled, a warm, radiant smile full of forgiveness and love, and nodded gently. Talia tightened her arms around both of them, her heart overflowing with a happiness she had thought was lost forever. "Yes, Lilybug," Talia whispered, kissing the top of her daughter's head, then reaching across to press her lips softly against Iris's waiting mouth. "I'm staying. I'm finally home.